Hi everyone, this is Denise from Creates with Love, and I'm here today to show you we're working on these dimensional paper art projects. And so I've got the two cards lined up for you. One is the Golf Father's Day card, and the other one is the Beer 4-layered card. The beer one can be used for not just Happy Father's Day, but Happy Birthday, thank you, or thanks and cheers. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to show you first how to set up each individual file. And this is assuming that you've already downloaded the file onto your desktop. I have my golf card here, or file, my golf file, and then my beer 4-layer file. So let's go ahead and start with the golf one. So I'm already in Cricut Design Space. I'm going to go to upload because I want to upload that file. I'm going to click upload image. I can either browse, or for me, the easiest way is to have the file already sitting on your desktop. All you do is click it with your mouse, drag it. When the box turns green, just go ahead and let go. It automatically uploads the file over here. You can tag it here. I'm going to put Dad and then save. Now I want to bring it into my canvas, so I'm going to select it one time. When you get the green box, select Insert Image. And here is the file. So whenever I design these files in Adobe Illustrator, they'll come to you up into Design Space as all grouped together. You can see it's already rubber band around here. Let me try and make this a little bit bigger for you. Okay, so you can see it's all grouped together, and this is blank, but this is actually the score line. Okay, when you create score lines in Adobe Illustrator, it doesn't follow over. I mean, the score line comes with you into Design Space, but you have to set it from a cut file to score. So you'll notice everything says cut, even though this I want to draw where it says happy and day, and the score line I want to score. So what we do is we ungroup the file. That way we can change things. And then for this card, I'm going to go ahead and make this one say Pops, and I'll save the Dad for another time. So I'm going to rubber band around Dad. I'm not going to be using this one just today. And here it is right here. I'm going to just shut that layer off. That way it's not going to be in our way. We don't need to cut it if we're not going to use it today. Okay, and then this is, okay, so we did decide that we want to draw our happy and our day. So let's go ahead and take this. I'm going to select, they're already grouped together for you. I tried to make it convenient for you, so it's already there. So what we're going to do is go up here, change the line type from cut to draw, and I'm going to choose my pen color, which is just going to be a fine point black pen. And then now I want to select the blue layer so I can attach that writing to the blue layer. So let me click off of that again. So I'm going to click on, I can either click on it here or here. So let me just do it here to show you here in the layers panel. So I'm going to click on the happy day. I'm going to hold down my shift key and click on the blue rectangle. Now that they're both selected, you can tell that because they're highlighted, I'm going to click attach. And what that does is it attaches the handwriting to this blue rectangle. Now you'll notice we lost the fathers. We didn't really lose it, it just went underneath. So if I right click and put send to or move backward, there we go. And then fathers comes back up. So this is just a cut file, which is what we want. So the only thing left we need to do really is to change that score line from a cut file, this right here. You can see it highlighted right here. It looks like a solid line when it comes from Adobe Illustrator, okay? But when you bring it into Cricut Design Space, it's going to look like just a solid line. So you find it over here, you select it, and then you go up to the line type and you change it from cut to score. And now it will score your card as long as we attach it to the white rectangle, right? Just like we did with the happy day, we attached it to our blue rectangle. This score line we're going to attach to our white rectangle, okay? You can see that the score line is already highlighted, so I'm going to hold down my shift key and I'm going to select the white rectangle, and then I'm going to select attach. and that attaches our score line to our card. And again, this needs to go back. Everything didn't disappear. Don't panic when you see this. I can either right click and put send to back, or I can simply go up to the top where there's a range and send to back. You can do it either way. That's the one thing I love about Cricut is there's several ways to do one thing. Sometimes one way is easier depending on what you're working on. That's why they give you the options like that. Okay, so this file should be ready to go. So what we'll do is I'll go ahead and send it to Make It, and then I'll check everything before I hit continue, right? That's what I do. I check all my mats and I tell myself, am I going to use 12 by 12 paper or am I going to use 8 by, 11 and a half for letter size? So today I'm going to be using 12 by 12. So that's good. This is good. You might want to take this guy and flip them around depending on your paper. You might get a little bit more use or less waste out of your paper that way. It's a personal preference on what you decide. Then there's this one. It's going to draw and cut. This one's score and cut. That one is just cut. And we've got our other layers. We've got this cut. So same thing. If you want to tilt them, it just depends on how you want to use your paper, right? I'm going to turn mine horizontally like that. Okay, and then same thing with this one. Well, it was. I think he's too close to the edge. Yep, he is. I got to move him out and then turn him. There we go. And then this one, I think I'll do the same thing with pops, right? It doesn't matter which way it cuts out. All the letters will be separate anyway, so I might even be able to fit. Let me see if I can. Yep. Okay, so I can fit 2 here. Okay, so I don't need to mirror anything because this is just a paper project. So we'll go up to the top and we are good to go. I'm going to click on continue. And it's going to hook up to my machine. Today I'm using the Cricut Maker. I'm going to select medium cardstock because that's what I'm using. If you don't have it set as a favorite, go to browse all materials and find it there. And it wants me to load the single scoring wheel in clamp B. If you don't have a Cricut Maker, you'll be loading the stylus. So if you're using the Cricut Explorer, that's what you'll want to use. And then the additional tool is going to be a fine point blade. And we are good to go. All right, so let me just cancel this one because basically this would cut out your project perfectly and then you would be ready to assemble it. Now the golf card is a lot easier to assemble than the beer card. And it's not that the beer card is hard, it's just that it's not one piece, it's multiple pieces. So the golf cart is also multiple pieces, but it's multiple pieces of one silhouette. The golf cart is multiple pieces of different silhouettes. So that's the one I'm going to actually be showing you how to assemble together. But just know that the golf cart basically, I'll show you a picture of it, but basically you're just setting one color on top of another. And then depending on if you want to put space in between, again, I'll show you in just a bit, you can do that as well, or you can just glue each layer together depending on the effect that you're looking for, okay? So I'm gonna cancel out this project. I am going to bring in the beer one, or root beer, depending on what you like. Okay, so I'm just gonna go ahead and go to new. And I'm just going to say replace because I'm not going to worry about this one right now. I can make it later. Okay, so just like the golf one, we're just starting off fresh with the beer card. Let me move this over a little bit so I can see my file. Okay, we have a new canvas. Click upload. I'm going to upload image. I'm going to pick up my beer file. I'm going to drag it. As soon as it turns green, let go. I'm going to tag this with beer and save. Okay, so I'm going to select it and then insert image. And again, the file comes in all grouped together. You see how it's all highlighted and it's got that line around it. So again, it comes in all grouped together. So these are the different writing phrases that I included. So depending on, what the party or occasion is, you can switch up the words here. So first thing we're going to do again is to ungroup it so we can work with each individual layer here. Okay. So now today, let's see, I'm going to do Happy Father's Day for this card, okay? So what I'll do is I'll group the ones that I'm not using. So just click with my mouse and rubber band around it. And I want to group those together. And here it all is, all grouped together. Now I'm going to turn that layer off because I'm just not going to use those sentiments right now. So they'll still be there, but they're just not showing right now. Okay, so this is what I want to use. So I'm going to, let's see, go here. Now you could cut this out if you want, or you could use the cheers. In fact, you know what, actually? So these would be cut out letters. I think what I want to do for this card, I just changed my mind. I think I want to write cheers here. So let me turn this layer off. I'm going to go back to the layer or the group that I turned off. And I'm going to find my cheers one. First, I'm going to ungroup them. I'm going to pull my cheers out. And now I'm going to group just these two. Okay, so same thing we did before. I grouped them. I don't want them right now. Now they're grouped. And now I'll turn off that group layer. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and take the cheers, and it's going to end up on a piece of the yellow square. That's where I want the cheers to go. So it's probably a little bit confusing for you now. This is actually, the square goes on, this yellow one goes on the inside of the white square when the card is folded. Okay, so before we get too further, before we do the handwriting, let's find our score line so we don't forget it. It's going to be the one that's blank, but it says cut. So if I click on it, it's a red score line. You can't really tell that it's red, but you see up here it changed to red. So the score line is right here. Like I said, it's hard to tell, but it is right there. Let me go ahead and change that to score. And then I know that I want it to score on the white part of the card. So I'm going to, the score line is already selected. I'm going to hold down the shift key and select. Actually, it's not that layer. Or maybe it is. Let me see. Yep, it is. Okay, so hold down my shift key, select the white layer, and then click attach. And what that does is it attaches our score line to the white part of the card. See, now you can see where it is. It was hard to tell before because these layers were on top of it. Now you'll notice this is a small square. I did that on purpose because when you open the card and set it down, it actually looks like it's not a card, which is kind of cool, right? It's a card, but when you have it sitting on the counter, it looks like it's just a beer mug sitting there. So that's the reason behind me designing it this way. Had I made it huge or to match this part, then when you open it, it would look like, or when you set it down, it would look like a card. So my design process was hoping to have it not look like a card. So I kind of like the way it came out. It's different and it's unique. Okay, so there's that. Now we do want these layers cut. This is good. Cut, cut. We want this cut out. Now we don't. That's turned off. We want this to be a draw image, right? And we want day to be drawn and we want fathers to be drawn. So let's just go ahead and take each one separately, change the line type from cut to draw. Okay, fathers, I'm going to change it from cut to draw. And then day, I'm going to change it from cut to draw. So now we have each one set as a draw type file. I'm going to select cheers and change that from cut to draw as well. Now we just need to decide where we want our pieces to go, right? Where do we want to attach them so that Cricut will know to draw right exactly there. Okay, so if you look at this, this is like looking at the back of the beer card. This side would be the front, and this is going to be the back, but in the outside of the back, if that makes sense. So let me take this. Actually, probably what would be really helpful is to just take this layer separate like that. Okay, now see how all of this goes on top of this, if that makes sense, okay? And then this blue square, or sorry, yellow square, where did it go? Where'd my yellow square? Oh, there it is. This yellow square will end up going on top. So let me just bring to front. This will actually end up going here, wherever we decide to glue it, right? We don't need to attach it because it's going to be a separate piece that we're going to cut. So this is where I want cheers to go, okay? So I'm going to take my word cheers and bring it down. And I'm going to arrange it to front. There we go. And I'm going to turn it this way. And I'm going to make it bigger by just taking these arrows and stretching it out. Click off of it. Okay, that looks good to me. So I'm going to select it. And then I'm going to hold down my shift key. And I'm going to select the yellow layer. And then attach. That attaches the writing to the yellow piece. So there we have, this one's ready to go. Now I want my Happy Father's Day to go on the inside of the back of the beer mug, okay? So it's going to be on the back of the white part. Okay, so it's going to go on the back of this part. So the way for me to do that is to take this and I'm going to flip it horizontally. Okay, so that is just like I'm looking at my card as if I had just opened it. Okay, so then in other words, when you open up the card, like you just take it out of the envelope and you open it up, this part is actually going to be right here. And then right here, we're going to write Happy Father's Day. Okay, so this is looking at the inside of the card. The back of this is where all of these layers are going to go. Okay, so I'm going to bring Happy here, arrange to front so I can see him. Same thing with fathers, arrange to front. And we've got day back there, but it's behind. So let me scoot this. There it is. Okay, and then before you can either do arrange to front or I can right click it and put send to front. Either way, we'll do the same thing. Okay, so let's decide what size we want this to be. Maybe not that big. I would rather have this one be bigger and this one be smaller. Okay, and then I'm going to select all three together. So select one, hold down your shift key, select the second one and the third one. Now they're all selected. I'm going to go to align and center horizontally. All right, that looks good. I like it right there. I might actually use my arrow keys to move it up just a little bit, right about there. Okay, so while it's selected, I'm going to hold down my shift key and select the white layer and then click attach. That attaches the handwriting to the inside of the card. So basically, even though everything's just kind of, placed all around, everything should be ready to go. Okay, we take a look at our layers panel again. Let me go ahead and unselect this. So we're going to draw out the word day, draw out the word fathers, draw out the word happy. We've got our score line is attached, and we've got our writing is attached. And these layers are turned off, which is good. This is another cut layer, and these are all cut layers. So this is ready to go. So go ahead and click on Make It. And this is where you want to double check and make sure that you have everything looks good on the mats. This would be your time to go back. If you accidentally made a mistake, then you can always click cancel and go back. So let's go ahead and check our work. I'm actually going to use 12 by 12 paper, so we're good here. This looks good to me. It's going to score, cut, and draw. Perfect. This one looks good. It's just cut. This one looks good. It's just cut. Remember, these are different colors, so they're going to different mats. And this one is perfect. We've got cut and we've got draw. So we are good to go. We don't need to mirror it because it's a paper project. So now I'm going to click on continue. It's going to hook up to my machine. I'm going to select medium cardstock. If you don't have it saved as your favorite, find it here where it says browse all materials. It's going to tell me to load my black pen, my scoring wheel, and clamp B. If you had your Cricut Explore, then you would be loading your scoring stylus to score. And then press the load mat and run. Make sure you use your additional or fine point blade. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to be using my deep cut blade because it's a little bit more of a intricate cut. I like to use my deep cut blade for intricate cuts because it cuts at a different angle and I find it works better. So for regular, like my golf cart, I'll just use my fine point blade, but for the beer one, there's some intricate cuts in the design, so I'm going to be using my deep cut blade. But either one will work. I've just had better luck using the deep point blade. So that's just kind of a bonus tip for you there. All right, so I will meet you over by the maker. Okay, so here we are. I've got my paper loaded. We're going to be cutting out the beer card. Let me show you my test file. This is the one that I made. Whenever I test my files, I use what I consider my crappy paper. So I have paper that is not solid core. So when you hear me explain when you're doing things with intricate cuts, that you definitely want to use solid core cardstock. Now this here is solid core. It doesn't have a white inside. It doesn't have a white middle. It's the same color through and through. And so I made some boo-boos, but this, like I said, this was my test file. Whenever I create files in Adobe Illustrator, I always make like a test run project, and this is it. But I did want to show you the layers. It's a little bit different colors than what I'm using, so you'll get a little bit of a different effect that way. But I wanted to show you the difference between these two cards. So these are the two files that I made. One's the beer card. Okay, you open it up, it's got the little square on the inside, and it's going to have one more color right here. And it'll stand up. You can't really see, but it'll stand up like that when you're looking at it. Okay, so now this one is the golf card. So this is the golf silhouette. But this one, I used these type of tape. I used this one today because I have a bunch of it on hand. But it's just a thin, you can cut off the tiniest little pieces that you need. It will take me forever to ever go through this. But we use it for other things around the house as well. So I already had this. You can see right here, you just peel off. It's sticky on both sides. Okay? So you just, for this one, I'm sure it's going to be really difficult for you to tell, but I was cutting off little tiny pieces all the way around. So it gives it a nice little 3D effect, if you will. I don't know if this camera will show it better. But if you can see, so when it's on flat paper, it looks really nice. If you look really carefully, you can see those little white things in there, right? But no one's going to see it when you're looking at the card like that. So I really like the effect that it gives. This is actually 4 layers. It'll be 4 layers once it's on the card. So there's 2 colors of blue. Actually, it is 4. 2 colors of blue, 1 color white, 1 color of black. Or you could use a navy blue for this color if you didn't have black. Either way would be fine. Anyway, so I wanted to show you that. If you don't have this type of tape on hand, These are some of my other favorites to use are micro dots or mini dots. I'll link these down in the description, and I'll link a different tape. I mean, you can get this one if you want, but there's another one that I've had my eye on that is actually cheaper than what this is. So if you want this type of product, go for the one that I link, and it's actually a better value. Okay, so these are just self-explanatory. They're dots. So instead of cutting off small strips, you just use the dots. So depending on if you have any tight curves or anything like that. Now this one, since I did flat, I'm going to go ahead and layer this one and give it that depth like I did with the golf cart or the golf silhouette. So I'm excited to see what that's going to look like, because now I see what it looks like flat. And actually, I think it looks pretty darn cool flat, but I want to give it some expansion and see if I like it better. So, all right, that's what we're doing today. I'm going to go ahead and turn my volume off and turn my music on and just kind of fast forward through this place. All you'll see is me loading my different papers, and then you'll see me start to transition to take the paper off of the mats and start to layer my card, and you'll see how I start my process of layering. The one thing I do want to mention, one of the best secrets about doing these type of layer cards is you want to take your top layer, turn it upside down, add your tape or glue, whichever one you're going to use, and then put it on top of the layer that's going to go beneath it. Don't try and do it on the one beneath and then put it on the one on top, right? It's just a lot easier to do it the way that I mentioned. I hope that makes sense. You'll see me do it in the video. So, all right, let's get this started, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the video. I'll come back and we'll compare the two when I'm done. All right, see you in a bit. Okay, so I really like it layered as opposed to this flat one. It's kind of nice to see the difference, right? So when you have it and you open it, I know you're looking at that angle, but when you open it, when it's sitting on the table, it's like you can't even tell that it's a card. It's like there's just a beer mug sitting there, which I think is really cool. But when you open it, it says cheers and it says Happy Father's Day. So then remember too, with this file, you could make this be just the cheers, or you could have it say happy birthday, right? So you can switch it around. You can say thanks or thanks here, or load it into your Cricut and use a different font and a different a sentiment, you know, personalize the file that I give you to say what you would like it to say. So I hope you really like this file. I think a lot of guys are going to like this. Sometimes it's hard to find just the right card for a guy. So I'm going to bring it over here so we can see it a little bit closer. And I know I'm going to fast forward this, so I don't know if you saw my mistake, but remember how I was saying you want to put the tape on the bottom side? So what I had, when I didn't do it that way, what happened was I had my tape a little bit over the edge, so I had to peel it off and scooch the tape back and then put it on this way. So I corrected my own mistake. See, I make mistakes. I did this whole part of the card right, but when I flipped it over, you know, it got twisted in my mind or something anyway. So yeah, the only other thing was I noticed when I recorded the video of attaching the writing to these paper here, I accidentally attached it to the white layer, and I didn't realize it until after I had shut the recording off. So from when I left you before, I said meet you over at the maker. What you didn't know, because I couldn't get my screen to record again for whatever reason, I don't know if my laptop was a little tired today or what, but it didn't allow my screen to re-record. So I just wanted to let you know that the one difference that I did make was I went back into Design Space, I unattached the writing from the white layer, and then I took this layer, flipped it over, right? So, because it's the opposite of this. So I flipped it over horizontally, and then I attached the same words to this color paper. So I just wanted to let you know that. Otherwise, right, if we had kept it on the white, you wouldn't even be able to see it. So my boo-boo, but I did correct it. So sometimes I don't realize my mistakes, honestly, until I get over and I start lining up what paper is in what order, and that's exactly when I picked up on it. Because when I first designed the card, like, I don't know, I probably did this about a month ago, when I first designed it, I actually had it to write on the white, so I completely forgot when I went to put the card together. But anyhow, I caught my mistake. Boo-boos are okay. Keep on crafting. All right, so I'm going to go and put this card together. You can see in the file, it's just on the outside of the white card. Either it's going to say Dad or Pops, and when you open it up, it's going to say the sentiment about Happy Father's Day. Alrighty, so I hope you enjoy these files, and remember to create with love. Bye.